Okay, here we go. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Small Business Small Talk, where this is a community where we can learn and grow together as small business owners and professionals who love small business, knows it's the backbone of the entire economy of the world. So there's a lot of great things that we've had going on. We've had the SBA on, we've had masterminds, we've had email marketing, and today we are going to talk about sales. So the month of April's theme is about business growth and personal growth. Let's start out with the thing that's most important to business: how to get more sales. And with that, I have a special guest spotlight. Her name is Lisa Lee, and she is the owner of the Genesis Shop based here in Louisville, Kentucky. And she has an extensive background in sales of her own. I'm going to let her tell her own story. So, Lisa, if you would, give us a little background on you and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Well, to start, I'm Lisa Lee, and I have been in sales and marketing my entire career, 25 years plus. Started out doing the Dale Carnegie sales and training courses and all those fun things that, you learn as a very new salesperson. And I went to work for Sara Lee, which I spent most of my career at, and worked my way up to when I left. I was the vice president of sales and marketing for the Eastern Division. So I had all of the East Coast, did a lot of traveling, met a lot of wonderful people, and got to see a lot of things. And in the meantime, had some fun.
Who doesn't like Sara Lee?
Right. And, the whole thing about it is I would just have to knock on the door or walk into an office and say, "Hey, I'm Lisa Lee with Sara Lee." And they would go, "Oh," and it's like, no, it's not like that, but it got me places. It got me in the door. So you have to find little gimmicks like that, I guess, to make yourself stand out. And from that point on, reached a point in my life where some family members and a very close family member had an issue with drugs and alcohol. And so taking that impact on the family, I decided to come off of the road and walk through the recovery process with this family member. And through that journey, it just kind of dawned on me that we need more prevention. And that's where Genesis was born, to do drug and alcohol testing. And so that's kind of where I am now. I'm going into my 6th year with the business, and with the environment in today's society, my business has it's just growing exponentially. So that's where I'm at now, and I'm having a ton of fun, and I'm helping a lot of people along the road.
That's awesome. I know you and I were able to get together and have actual lunch.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to do that and to have conversations wrapped around our business and our lives and stuff. So this whole topic of sales, what is it really? I mean, what really does making sales mean?
Relationships. To sum it up in one word, relationships. People buy, and this is something that's drilled in all of our heads, people buy from people they like. I think the word sales is overrated. It's you go out, you communicate, you build that relationship, and then you just keep your word. You do what you say you're going to do.
Well, that would be an integrity issue, right?
Well, what I mean by that is if I'm in front of a prospect and they're getting ready to say, "Give me the go," and I say, "Well, I'll get back to you in the next day with a formal proposal." That's what I mean by do what you say you're going to do. Because people, then it comes to the integrity, because down the line as that relationship develops with your clients, they're going to depend on that, and you're going to be the one that they trust when other competitors come knocking on their door.
Mm-hmm. So for you, you've been under the title of sales and marketing. Mm-hmm. Are they the same?
No, I don't think so. Sales is actually going out, bringing that client in, and then the marketing piece of it is being creative in your presentation materials, gimmicks and different ways to get people's attention. Like I have It's a brain, one of those squeezy things. Okay, stress balls, but it's a brain.
Yeah.
And it's very, very colorful. So I call that my Jerry Garcia brain. That's what a healthy brain would look like. And then I show them a gray brain, which I think you gave me that idea. But this is the brain on drugs. So it works, and it's something different. And I leave that when I take a little bag with me that's got my logo and information on it. I have a brain in there, and I have my marketing materials. So that's how come I put them together, because I think it's all one big picture of a pitch is sales and marketing.
Now, can you do sales without marketing?
I think so. It wouldn't be as fun. And it's not, you're not going to stand out, and people aren't going to remember if you're just pushing numbers at them and selling on just numbers. You've got to bring value to the table. So that's, I think it goes together. I mean, you could do them without, but I don't think it would be successful, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I think the two need each other for support, but they are a little on the standalone side, but marketing is supporting a sales plan. Right. So, so ultimately, as a business owner, how do you set your goals?
They change depending on what's going on in the market. 5 years ago, we knew heroin was coming. We didn't know to the monster it was going to grow. So I had to really switch up some of my marketing materials and how I approached clients with training and saying, hey, this is what's going on out here. This is what you need to look for, and, became a good resource for them. And that's how I've been able to kind of grow. And I changed my goals and say, okay, in the next quarter, I really want to focus on tramadol. That's another pain medicine that we're seeing being laced in heroin. And again, reaching out to my clients and saying, here, are you aware? And, changing my newsletter up. So I think you have to constantly change your goals to meet what's going on currently, at least in my business.
Yeah. So setting business goals also includes that whole revenues. Like, you got to know how much you're wanting to bring in. And then part of that marketing, the strategic marketing, if you will, the plan is, where are you going to find that? How is that going to funnel into revenue over here? So you and I both know a lot of business owners who are like, I just want more. I just want more. And so what does more look like, and how do you get it? Well, a lot of that's through that, right? The symbiosis of sales and marketing.
Yeah, that's a real important part of the sales process is goal setting in the beginning. Know who your target markets are, and I understand for people just starting out that might be a little bit difficult, but know where you're going to get your business, and look at your current book of business, or I do, and say, okay, I'm very successful in the manufacturing, I'm very successful in the hospitality, very successful in the addiction communities. So stay there, it's working, and that's how I've been able to steadily grow and stay in the black for 6 years now. And growth, it balances off and kind of has its cycles, but I'm sitting right at about 8% a year on growth. So I've maintained almost 98% of my client base since I started. So that's important. Go where your buyers are. My buyers are at human resource people. So I go and hang out where the human resource people hang out.
Which is smart.
Yeah, exactly.
So I will usually tell a new client to look at your current data, like, where are you getting most, and it's spot on where you already are. Wherever you're getting the most out of it, like, where's the most clients coming from, do more with them. Like, it's easier to get more from what you're already doing than go create something brand new. Right. Because you're basically trying to create a whole new niche within a marketplace that could be totally oversaturated and you've not paid attention.
Right.
And so then you're just spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere really fast.
Right. And then what has happened to me is I have evolved from, okay, I had a couple of manufacturing plants to now I have lots of them. So I really understand their environment and what they need and the safety sensitive nature of their businesses. And so when I walk in and talk to an HR person, I can say, hey, I really understand, da, 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 da. And that automatically builds trust, builds value, and keeps my revenue going up because I'm staying within, my 3 or 4 buckets that I know I can keep filling up.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you ever get bored and just want to do something new with it?
Bored with the business or bored with sales in general?
Same question, both of those areas.
Okay. Of course, everybody gets bored and we don't like the mundane task. And I am the last person that's going to pick up the phone and make a cold call. I'm terrified. But I find a reason to reach out to that person. And then it makes it easier to make that call. Boredom, yeah. I don't know if it's so much boredom as it is frustrated and you just need a break and say time out. I gotta walk away from this for a little bit. And I get bored at times when I'm caught up and then it's like, okay, I don't have all this chaos going on around me now, what do I do? So I think we all do. So I create the chaos and make it happen.
I think in just this past minute of conversation, you have helped like thousands of people go, I think it's okay to be like I am.
Yeah, it is.
Terrified of cold calls and creating our own chaos are part and parcel of owning our own business, because if we're not running 100 miles an hour, what do we do with stopping?
Right. And I remember early on in my career, I would drive around because I was supposed to be out cold calling. And I'm like, I'm not going to stop and go in there. No. So I'll drive down the road to the next place. And then one day I finally got out of my car and went in, and it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'm meeting new people.
So for that new salesperson out there watching this, it happens to all of us.
Yeah, it's okay to be scared. So
yeah, and I think there was a time where I had somebody call it the chicken shit list.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
If you make that list and you call somebody on that list, that's your eat the frog on your chicken shit list.
Yep.
If you could do that, then the rest of your week is set.
Yep, exactly. And you find as time goes on, knock those calls out early in the day, and then it's done. And then you can work on other stuff and follow-ups and so forth. And I'll never forget my dad. When I was a little kid, if I was afraid to do something, he'd call me a panty waste. Okay? So to help me get over that fear of picking up the phone or getting out of my car, I just remember my dad saying, panty waste, panty waste. So for those of you out there that need a little encouragement, just say panty waste to yourself and you'll think of me and know it's okay.
So over your years of doing the sales and marketing and getting over that, being terrified of cold calls and having this amazing run of years in the black with your own business. So what are some best practices you could tell everybody? What are the things that you do, work?
Okay. The first and most important is when you meet with a prospect or you close the deal, send a handwritten thank you note via the old-fashioned way, no emails, no text, because it makes an impression, and people like getting things in the mail. I like getting birthday cards in the mail. Who wouldn't like getting a thank you card? So that's one of my best practices. The other thing is I'm in touch with most of my clients throughout each month and whatnot. But if I'm not, I make a point that the first of every quarter I reach out to them, whether it's a text, not a text, but whether it's an email or a phone call or a drop by. I always touch base with them, and and then throughout the interim, twice a year, I send out a newsletter that kind of updates everybody on what's going on. So that constant touch. And yes, sales are number one important because that's what drives your revenue. But the second best or fourth, I guess now, is that you do what you say you're going to do. It goes back to that integrity thing. If I tell a client I'm going to get your order placed, or I'm going to be there, on Tuesday to collect on 20 people, or, you have to follow through with what you say you're going to, and in a timely fashion, because in today's world, everybody wants everything right now. And so you got to be pretty close. I try to do it the same day. If not, I do it the next AM hours. So,
yeah. What are some things don't work?
Persistence, I know, is driven into everybody's skull when it comes to sales. But being too persistent and being bothersome when you're trying to call on a client or a prospect, that's just the worst thing you can do. Because I know when salespeople call on me, I always take their call. I always listen to what they're going to say. I'm polite, don't hang up on them. But if they keep calling back after I've said, no, I'm not interested, and they keep it up, I'm okay with a couple touches. But when they do it consistently, then that gets irritating. So that would be one of the number one things I would say don't do.
Don't overkill it.
Yeah, don't overkill it.
Yeah. What are some other things?
See, I don't know. I think it's don't overtalk when you're going into that.
I was hoping you'd go there.
Yeah, that first meeting, it's not about you. And it's not about what you're selling. Go in, look around the office, find a common talking point, and then shut up. Let them talk. Just ask some open-ended questions like, how do you think I can be of help? What are you currently experiencing? What are you currently doing? Whatever your little widget or gadget is that you're trying to sell, just don't overdo it and go in and like what I call throw up on somebody about your business, how successful you are, or what your product's all about. That's not the first meeting. That's the second meeting. That's the follow-up. So just listen. Don't over talk. Don't.
Yeah, I've had way too many experiences where I didn't get to say hardly 2 words in the whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you're not here for me at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and take notes. That's a lot of things that I see, that particularly salespeople that I've trained, is they think they can remember everything. If you're not taking notes, then you're not going to remember what that full conversation was, and you're not going to be able to respond and go back and present well to your prospect.
Yeah, what is that part? The whole devil's in the details. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're missing the big points that were important to them because you think you're going to remember it,
right?
It may fall through the cracks very easily.
Right.
And you don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. And don't procrastinate. That's a salesperson's worst enemy, is procrastination. I'll call them tomorrow, going back to the cold calling thing, or, I can do this later. Don't do that, because you're not going to hit your goals, and you're not going to hit your numbers, and that never turns out good.
No. So there's a lot of, and I just heard this example last week at a training where the gentleman was working for a company, and every salesperson was required to do 70 calls in a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you and I have known plenty of those kind of companies. You have to make your 70 calls in a day. But he was also hitting his numbers by only calling 15 people in a day.
Okay.
So he had gotten it down. However, the sales manager was all up in arms because he was only making 15 calls, and he expected the whole team to make 70 calls a day. So now in that multiplier environment where you got multiple salespeople and you got a sales manager who's expecting everybody to do the same amount of work, that makes it look like he's not much of a team player, even though he hit his numbers, the revenue, but the activity number, it wasn't there.
Wow. Wow. As a sales manager, because I've walked in those shoes, every salesperson is different, and you have to treat them differently to what their skill set is. And if somebody's hitting their numbers, I don't care how many calls they're making, but that's just been my experience to make people successful. So 70 calls is a lot.
I don't even know how many that is. That's 10 an hour, I guess, in a decent day.
Yep.
If you're having a really good conversation with somebody, you're not going to get 10 in an hour.
No. Wow.
Yeah. I think all of us were like, that's a little, so setting realistic activity too, because the insurance industry, those people are handed the script and they're given their goals for numbers. Like when you're out networking, you pass out so many business cards and you pick up so many business cards. I don't know what.
That's not networking.
No, it's not.
No.
So how do you go about the networking? Because for me, networking is part of the marketing plan, but it's the relationship driven that leads to a more qualitative sale, if you will.
Well, and there's a story behind this, because in my Fortune 500 career, I was meeting with board members, and so I was always someplace different and sitting in boardrooms trying to sell to people 10, 15 years older than me. That was a challenge. So when I came off the road and started the business here, I didn't know anybody here. I didn't know anybody in the business community because I never worked this area. So I'll never forget my very first networking event was a chamber event, and I walked in petrified. And I'm somebody that never meets a stranger, and you know that, but I was so petrified because it was in a professional environment. So someone approached me and started up a conversation. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I had somebody come up to me that threw up all over me and shoving business cards at me. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not okay. So after going to a couple more events and learning some things from folks like yourself about networking, is just go in, relax, and just meet people and let them talk. Somebody eventually, if they're good at networking, will ask you, what do you do? But I usually start off the conversation with, how'd you hear about this event? Are you a member of the chamber? And ask about them. And just in the natural course of things, people will ask back to you, unless they're one of those people that are trying to hit quotas and need to shove business cards and get business cards. I never, ever present my business card to anybody if they don't ask. I'm just not going to do it. I think it offends professional networkers, so to speak, and people that know what networking is about. Is, if I want your card, I'm going to ask for it, and there's a reason I'm going to ask for it, because I'm interested in talking to you further. So
yeah. Now there's also those networking events like BNI, and so BNI is very structured, very much a leads generating networking style. So that's totally different approach than an open networking.
It is. BNI, I think overall works very well. Like you said, it's very structured. You have to turn in referrals, you have to bring guests, and you have to have good, attendance. So I think the structure works really well for some people. I'm a structured person, but not that structured.
Right.
And I think they work. I've been in a couple of BNIs, and I've seen people be very, very successful.
Yeah. Now my industry, though, it's not, my target's not there in those groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't do it every week and be that structured with,
No.
It's just not my makeup anyway. That's why I don't even do Toastmasters, because I can't. It's too many rules.
Yeah. No rules, right?
Hey.
No, there's always rules.
There's guidelines. There's guidelines, yes. If you will.
I just had to get that in there.
I know.
I just have fun. I mean, don't look at it as it's a job or, I've got to do this. Have fun. And you and I both know, because we've known each other for a while, we have made some tremendous friends.
Oh, absolutely.
Inside and outside of work. And that just, I feel like I have a whole community around me now because of the relationships I developed through getting out and networking.
So for a salesperson, what are some attributes that are better suited for sales?
I think that really varies from person to person, Christy. Definitely an outgoing personality, but I've seen people that are very introverted become very successful salespeople when they're comfortable, and that's a trait. Do your homework and know what you're selling. A salesperson can go into any industry and sell once you know the basics. You have to be a good follow-through person, a good listener, professional when you go places. But I think that's good quality for everybody. Those are good attributes for all people in business. It's just know what your product is and keep up to date on stuff.
Yeah, because you've talked about knowing for you and your business, because you as the business owner are also your salesperson.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you've threaded a lot about knowing your industry and what's coming down, the trends, what's coming. Mm-hmm. Like, how much time do you spend on that?
Oh, wow. In any given week, up to 6 hours.
Wow.
I'll read articles. I'll through LinkedIn, people are posting things, watching the news. I mean, that's anywhere I can feed from my information, and Google is my best friend. So you just take the time to research it, not during the business day.
You should be making cold calls, you panty waist.
Right. Stay in that green. I had, and one more thing, because I know we're going to run short of time here, but one of the things that early in my career that a mentor really honed in for me was he looked at my calendar, and I said, because I told him, he said, "How are you doing? What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm busy. And he said, "Okay, show me your calendar." And that was back in the day when paper calendars were still used. And so I showed him, and he said, "All right, I'm going to mark up your calendar in 3 colors, red, green, yellow." I said, "Okay." So he went through and marked it all up, and I looked at the calendar, and I said, "Why is all this red on here?" And he said, "Red is meaning non-productive, non-sales, non-contact with clients or prospects. Your green is when you're working and you're in front of clients, or you're on the phone, you're emailing, whatnot. And then the yellow is that administrative time that we all have to do throughout the day, and time like this, that's concerned that, because we're not selling anything right now, but we're having a productive conversation that we and others will get something out of."
Right.
So that really just cemented. And I think for particularly new salespeople, that's a good tool to actually put your calendar down on paper and do it yourself. There you go.
Because I was going to ask about what kind of tools you use. So I'm still old school. I do it all. This is $1 at the Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
And I make it look like however I want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I take a piece of paper and I fold it in half on the inside, and this becomes my focus items for the week.
Okay.
And I block off, here's the stuff in green.
There you go.
Up here. And then down here is all the other stuff. And I'm not liking how much green I've got, right? I know I need like this much paper of green versus the opposite. So
exactly.
yeah,
And you know, and to be all honest, I still have one too.
it's just, and I will take like my calendar stuff, not my tasks, but my calendar. I put that into Google and my Outlook or wherever I need to put it so that ultimately I'm on track for my phone stuff.
Yep.
But you know, I pick it up and it rings. So I have the redundancy built in for reminder systems, but as far, I just think physically writing it is that extra, I'm getting it. You know, it's making sense.
Yes.
So that leads me to ask about different generations.
I knew you were going to go there.
Because I really honestly don't know somebody that is even in their 30s that would pick up a paper calendar and do it this way.
No.
I mean, I'm a huge whiteboard person. In this particular office, my whiteboard is only like this big. So I use the window that's between the two offices.
There you go.
Yeah. Now at home, I have two whiteboards.
Okay.
So, and but I have to get everything out of here into writing. But that, because you and I had just talked recently about having that younger generation is starting to become those decision makers.
Yes, they are.
So they communicate different. How do you handle that?
Be nice.
Be patient.
Yeah. It's evolving. And we are selling to younger generations that are making these decisions because they're, without pointing any particular generation out, you know, that instant gratification. So I have found it challenging that when they ask for something, once they become a client, if they send an email, then they expect it to be answered immediately. And so I kind of had to adjust the way I deal with it, and I go ahead and just I'll get back to them, and then that stops. I don't know. Maybe we should do a webinar on that, and I need to learn a little bit more. I still send them the thank you notes that are handwritten. And still treat them the same as I do all of my other clients, but it's really challenging because they want it right now, and they want you to return a phone call right now when you're in an hour and a half long business meeting. So, I think that's a good one for another topic.
I see what you did there. Well, because it's, you know, we're at that place of having that 4 generations in the workplace. And so I know there are some veteran salespeople out there who have to work with the brand new guy.
Yeah.
Right. So I went into one insurance company, and the broker, the agency owner, he's like, I need you to work with him because if I talk to him anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and it was funny because the owner was a generation ahead of me, and I was in the middle of these two.
Okay.
Right. So I could at least be this communication liaison between the two to get him to kind of bump it up a little bit. Like he just seemed like he wasn't on fire, just seemed like he wasn't really into doing all this stuff, according to Mr. I've been in this for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
And he's not pulling his weight. Like, Mr. I need instant gratification over here. This one hasn't been trained properly yet. So you gotta be patient and all this kind of stuff to get them up to that level that you're expecting.
Right. I look at it because I have children, well, my oldest, not my youngest, in that generation. And so there's times when I'm sitting with a younger generation that I look and say, oh, that's my son, and I'll just talk to him like I talk to my son. And then one time I never take this was something you said never do, so I'll flip back to that. Never take your cell phone into a sales call. That is the worst thing, to get a call when you're talking to somebody, both ways. Going into business meetings, don't take your cell phone. Just set it. You'll be okay. You'll survive the 30 minutes, not having it in your hands. But I made the mistake one day. I took my purse in with me, and I had my cell phone in it. And it was a younger generation, and I like all kinds of different music. And a song, I forget what it was, a real hip-hoppy song came on and was one of my ringtones. And she looked at me, and she's like, wow, that's cool. That kind of brought to common ground. I'm not saying do that, but
Yeah.
that happened by mistake.
It was interesting watching a young sales guy for a nonprofit at one of the networking events locally. Just, you could tell he is all GQ hip, very much into it. He was in his early 20s, and he started talking about doing this event, and it was all 80s music inspired. Well, we're sitting over here going, and like, this is not oldies music yet.
Yeah.
Well, but we're glad that you're picking good music. You got good taste in music. Welcome to our world, kind of thing. So that has definitely been interesting, and yes, it'll be a different small business small talk.
Most definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely. So, are there any other? What else would you say to a new salesperson coming in to get them on the right path?
Have fun. Have fun and surround yourself with other successful people. Study up and practice. That's one of the things I always had my sales crews do, is I'd sit them down in a room one to one with either myself or another salesperson and say, okay, you play the buyer, you play the salesperson, and role play. I think that that's really important. If you've got a big presentation, always practice it and know the material. So those are probably the couple of key things that I think make people successful when it comes to selling.
Role playing was always I just hated it.
Yeah, we all do. I still do. My husband gets tired of me. Okay, I need to, get this spiel out. And he's like, okay, go ahead.
So what would you then turn around and tell somebody who's been in the business for 20 plus years and they think they have it down?
Not. You need to keep learning and keep practicing and role playing. You and I know when we've talked, you've kind of walked me through a couple of things and helped me approach a conversation that was going to be a little bit touchy. So it's important. Get other people's opinions. No, you don't know it all. Nobody does. When you stop learning, you die. Mm-hmm. So, and there's new ways of techniques, and the old Dale Carnegie stuff is out the window and has been for about 20 years. So, okay.
Yeah. Really. I mean, there's so if you were to recommend sales training, is there something out there that has worked for you recently, like in the past less than 5 years?
I haven't been to any sales training. I've read a lot of good books. I can't think of any of them now. I guess I could look on my bookshelf, but just I don't know. That's not my area. I learn on a one-to-one personal basis and by self-teaching and reading articles. There's a real good one out there, and I'll try to find it for you, that kind of lists when to make cold calls in the morning, what day to make them on, tactics that work and don't work, that I found very helpful. So I'll try to find that and send it over.
That'd be awesome. I could share that out on the Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll look for it.
So, so really, I mean, this whole world of sales, would you have ever gone back and done something different?
The only thing I would have done different was follow my initial passion, which would be a veterinarian. But now that I've experienced sales all of my life, it's too much fun, and you have so much freedom to get out and breathe the fresh air and not be cooped up in an office all day. So no, I wouldn't have changed it. not knowing now what I know.
Well, Lisa, I certainly appreciate your time today. Thank you for your insight, and I wish you all the most amazing success in the world. And hopefully we'll get to go to Disney together someday.
There you go. We always manage. Thank you.
Absolutely. So at this point, I want to thank everybody who is watching this replay. To join us, I want to thank you for your time, and I want to ask you to go like the Facebook page, subscribe to us on YouTube, and join us every first of the month, every first Monday of the month, 11:30 to 12:30, right here in the Small Business Small Talk Zoom room. And with that, I'm going to stop recording.
Okay.